Can everybody hear us? This is Marty at OPCA. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get this started. We'll start with introductions in the room and then go to who's on the phone. For the record, Marty Carty, Oregon Primary Care Association.
Stephanie Castagno from the Oregon Primary Care Association.
And Danielle Sobel, OPCA as well.
And who do we have on the phone?
Mercedes from Central City Concern.
It's possible you could be on mute, too, if you're saying stuff. Can't hear you.
Good afternoon. This is Gail Nelson from the Reinhardt Clinic.
Welcome, Gail. So it looks like I've got on the phone Mercedes, Gail, Daisy, and someone else. I can't tell who you are. All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for taking your lunch hour to spend some time with us today and talk about the exciting world of advocacy. Without too much further ado, I want to get started, but just a few housekeeping things. We are recording this presentation today so that we can share it with you later for your reference, or you can share it out with your friends or colleagues, and hopefully we can expand and help the ACE program grow even further. If you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat box. We will address all of those as a group at the end. With that, we'll just jump into today's agenda. What is the ACE program? How can your health center achieve advocacy excellence? Connecting advocacy and AHEAD. Stephanie's here to talk a little bit about the AHEAD program that OPCA is leading. We have a lot of checklists and supporting materials to help you with your quest for ACE advocacy and excellence. And best practices. We reached out to some ACEs here in Oregon and also from around the country, and they shared some of the things that have made them successful. And then your questions. So I think the first question that a lot of folks might have is, what is the ACE program? And it really comes down to it's incorporating advocacy as an element of operational excellence. What that means, it's the same idea that your health centers use in regards to quality measures or other operational goals. Advocacy isn't just something that lives in a silo with you or your team. You have the opportunity to infect your entire organization with the advocacy bug. By incorporating advocacy, you're supporting your health center, its programming, and funding. You're using advocacy to show value and influence policy that impacts health centers, with the overarching goal that health centers will be able to continue the awesome work you're doing across Oregon. The other great part about this program is it helps you establish a standardized framework for building solid advocacy. So that when there's an action alert or from either OPCA or NAC or a day at the Capitol or some other event, your staff already has the knowledge and tools to take action. They understand why it's important and what to do. You're creating an army of folks to weigh in on policy or with your lawmakers. Today's program allows health centers to demonstrate a commitment to advocacy as an organizational priority. Again, this goes back to what I opened with, that the advocacy program doesn't live in a silo by itself. You as an organization, organizationally, have to take this and make it the forefront of the work you're doing, including your patient care and all the other aspects of the work your health center does. It's also to say that advocacy is really important. Advocacy has to be implemented both vertically and horizontally as an organizational activity. The ACE program doesn't leave out board members or health center leadership. Top-down buy-in is really important for your advocacy program. The other nice thing about it is it's tiered to encourage your participation, and it rewards improvement and increased engagement. So the first level of the ACE program is the bronze status. What bronze really is, it's an on-ramp to helping you build a foundation and framework and the basics of advocacy. It positions you to take the next steps to grow your ACE program and to help your staff and board members be successful in advocacy work. And then the last piece there is just to let you know that while a lot of the ACE requirements are driven through NAC, we have a partnership with NAC and their state policy team, and we're working very closely with them to help support you. So if you have trouble getting your application through or just need documents or things like that, please reach out to us on your journey to become an ACE, because we want to be a partner and make sure that you're well supported. So how can your health center demonstrate an ongoing commitment to advocacy through the creation of an advocacy infrastructure? I think the answer is really some of the things we just hit on in the previous slide. The answer really being it's building a program that creates that foundational understanding organization-wide to help everyone understand why the work your team is doing to create this program is so important, and then help them know that when they receive that alert or that information rolls out, what to do with it. And it doesn't just add to the list of emails or things that they have to do throughout their workday, that they actually notice it and act on it. Another really important piece of achieving that goal is consistent engagement. That means encouraging your staff to respond to those calls to action, whether they come from NAC, whether they come from OPCA through an email or our policy and advocacy update during session. The work you're doing to build this program is through recruitment. You are recruiting your staff and board members. Don't forget, this isn't just your executive leadership team signing up. NAC, for lack of a better term, doesn't really care how many executive member leaders are part of this program. They want staff and board members to be active participants. So you're recruiting your peers. Advocacy training and education. Again, you are engaging your staff through training about what advocacy is, what the advocacy alerts are, educating them about the policy climate that we are working in, whether it's on vaccine conversation in Salem, Medicaid funding in Salem, or perhaps it's about the cliff and what that means for health centers in September, and if we go over that. So again, this is your opportunity to really plant the excitement that advocacy can be, and also help your staff really understand why it's important for them to be involved. Excuse me. And then also engaging through a social media presence. That's one of the best ways for your staff to make sure they like your Facebook page, make sure they're following you on Twitter, and make sure that you have a presence where you're pushing out advocacy alerts, or you're pushing out those letters to the editor or other advocacy things that OPCA might be sharing. Involvement with your state PCA, that's us. And don't forget, you are not alone in any of this. I know that this PowerPoint might seem a little bit overwhelming and that there's a lot to do and you wonder that you don't have the bandwidth to get it done. Don't forget, that is why we're here, and that is our goal, is to help you along in this process. And then NAC's goal or NAC's role in this, they provide a lot of the tools in terms of some forms and some guidance, but they also track participation. So as you, up there in the second bullet, advocacy recruitment. As you're recruiting folks, you're reporting to them, and they help you track your goals in terms of participation and engagement. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie for a moment just to talk about how AHEAD engages in advocacy, and then we'll jump back into the ACE program in a minute.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. So again, this is Stephanie. I am OPCA's transformation manager, and I have been really heavily involved in this new collaborative that started out in January 2019 that we're calling AHEAD, aka Advancing Health Equity and Data Collaborative. And so as Marty was mentioning, we are your state PCA, and we really are here to support any of your efforts throughout the state, and hopefully, again, like leverage the network itself of CHCs in Oregon. And one way in which we're doing that is through this collaborative that really is meant for health centers to enhance their effectiveness in understanding and addressing the root causes of poor health, aka social determinants of health, social needs. And I believe I'm looking at some of the callers, and I think you all your health centers may be participating in AHEAD. If you're not sure, feel free to send us your email in case you're wondering of who's participating. But we do have more than half of our membership. I think over 24 health centers are participating in AHEAD. It is a learning collaborative in which we host. We had one kickoff, in-person kickoff in January. We'll have a closeout in December and have webinars hosted along the way that really get to that social determinants of health work. What are your workflows? Who are you engaging at that health center? What does that data collection process look like? How are you utilizing that data in order to share back with your clinic, with your community, to really help, again, show what those needs of your community are. So that is AHEAD. And in the little map, you can see of all of those who have participated. And then let me get to the next. Thank you. And so really the short term, so where we are right now, the reason why we put this collaborative is that our data as a network on social needs, on social determinants of health, looks like that, you know, a bunch of little points floating around in the sky. And really our goal by 2020 is to be able to, in a standard way, collect this data and have you all see it and share it with each other in a way that we can show what the social determinant of health needs are statewide. So really our goal, again, as we are stronger together, and if we can share some of this data in a standardized way, we can also be able to advocate alongside you and for you on the needs of your communities. And so folks like Marty and Danielle, who have those partnerships, who are at the Capitol, can help communicate a network message of needs and really follow those policies along the way. And also for you to do advocacy at your own level. Thank you. And you may have seen this image from Health Affairs that I think came out earlier this year about just kind of that long-term vision, again, for that social needs data. You know, for many years we've been practicing in this downstream, you know, piece. We are currently thank you, animation. So for example, treating diabetes, you know, and then as we've been working closer with patients, we know that we can't just manage their diabetes. We need, there's some other social factors that really impact their health. And so currently, I know a lot of health centers are doing great work in this individual impact, like prescribing VegRx programs, doing some of that screening, doing some of that data collection, hiring more non-clinical team members to really help address on an individual level the social needs of patients. And really where we as OPCA, again, part of our mission is health equity for all, and I know that we all share that, is to really get folks, again, and through the ACEs program, to this community impact piece. Not just collecting data for the sake of collecting data on an individual level, but to also collect it on a community level to make a community impact, either alongside with our community partners by leading or by sharing some of this work. So, for example, food stamp benefits or minimum wage standards. We also heard from folks from stakeholder engagement that providers can be a strong messenger for some of this advocacy work. As you can see here on the screen, 75% of physicians believe that they should advocate for public policies and address social determinants of health. We are unique within the community that your voices are strong in a community and therefore can be a messenger of this information. And so we would love to see providers being able to share their stories again. You hold that trust within that community. You know some really intimate information about your community members, and so creating a space for you all to then be able to share that message with those who are making policies. So again, an opportunity for advocacy. So imagine the power of a care team if they were equipped with the social needs data in which they could, for a moment, really be able to tell the story of the patient's social needs. For example, again, continuing on that topic of food insecurity, telling the story of how many patients of that you're seeing that are food insecure and how many that are not. And being able to, again, share that story with folks in your community who have that decision-making ability. So being able to pair that data with some of those advocacy tools like Marty had mentioned earlier. So again, really being able to tell the story, because data is just data to some folks, but if you're able to kind of layer on that patient story to really kind of connect the dots for those who make the decisions in your communities to be able to advocate for resources needed. And then again, thinking of that upstream where we really hope folks to go through this AHEAD program. Again, we are just at our beginning steps. We're in year one. We are looking to a year two of our AHEAD program. Marty sits on our program team to bring in that policy lens and advocacy lens. But really, I mean, there are already health centers doing some of this great work. Again, it might seem daunting that you have to sort of jump through these hoops to be, an advocate, but really you guys are already doing this work. You already have those connections in your community with your community partners. But just really putting yourself out there to be able to share those stories again of what you're hearing in your community. So again, if you have a VeggieRx program, share that information loud. You can see a good example here from Redmond in Prineville of really being able to step up and meet the needs of a community because of being an advocate. Or again, if you may not have certain programs, partnering with those programs in your neighborhood. So again, this is sort of just our goals for the AHEAD program. Again, I think many of you might already be involved, but if you would like more information, please comment your email and I can reach out to you and share a little bit more on some resources and tools. You can also find more about the AHEAD program on our website if you wanted to click and poke around. We've created a lot of great tools, and OPCA is, as Marty said, a great partner of NAC, especially through the Prepare program or project. I think we call it the Prepare project, in which it's a standardized social needs screening tool. So we have a lot of resources at our fingertips. If you are considering this work a little bit more or maybe wanting to link it more to your advocacy efforts, please do reach out and we're able to help share more resources. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And one of the reasons why I think we really wanted to highlight the ACE program in coordination with AHEAD is because while the ACE program is a great opportunity for each of you to build that foundation and framework, we really wanted to highlight some of the work that you can do once you've built that in your health center. And the idea being is that, you know, it's great to take data to lawmakers, but the real value is when you can have that story or you have the number of patients that you are able to impact through a VeggieRx program. You know, so much of the advocacy work that happens relies on less on data and more on heartstrings. So that's why we felt like this was a really great opportunity to bring these two pieces together. With that being said, if you have questions about AHEAD or about how ACE and AHEAD work together, you can reach out to myself or Stephanie. I want to jump back in a little bit to the ACE program and talk about how easy it is to get to bronze status. And by easy, I mean we're going to make it super easy for each one of you to get bronze, no trouble at all. I'm going to just kind of generally run through these kind of quickly because there's a lot of information on the back end that we can just shoot out to you in terms of forms that are available to get this work done. The first step is to establish an advocacy coordinator or coordinators. There's no magic number of people or staff to this other than to say the best model is for a cross-section of folks representing every aspect of your organization. Let's see. So developing an advocacy work plan, and if I wasn't clear, these are NAC's requirements for you to reach bronze status. Develop an advocacy work plan. NAC has a worksheet for that and also templates and examples. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. Incorporate advocacy at staff and board meetings. Remember that this should be an agenda item at every staff meeting. This should be an agenda item at every board meeting. And so that's one of the reasons they toss that out there, is to make sure that advocacy stays in the forefront of the work your organization is doing. Pass a board resolution. NAC has a pre-drafted board resolution ready to go. Register 50% of staff and board as advocates. That means getting staff members to sign up their email. If it's their personal email account or their work email account, it doesn't matter. What matters is that these are staff and board members. Your executive team doesn't count for these metrics. Remember that. Host a National Health Center Week event. We'll talk a little bit more about this later and some of the perks associated with it, but what a great opportunity to spread the word about the work you're doing. And host one elected official annually. This can be a local elected, a city councilor, or a county commissioner. It can also be your state representative or your U.S. congressperson. It doesn't matter who it is as long as you host someone once. And then you have to establish a social media account. Most clinics already have one, so that's easy. I want to just highlight for those of you who are thinking about or aspiring to achieve silver or gold status through the ACE program, as you're thinking through the bronze, how to put a few quick, easy steps in place that'll pay benefits down the road. When you're signing up that 50% of your staff and you start doing some training around advocacy, remember that for the bronze status, there's no requirement for responses to advocacy alerts. But for silver and gold, respectively, NAC requires a 10% and 20% response rate. So getting your folks used to responding to action alerts from NAC is really important as you start this work. As I mentioned, kind of throughout this, there are lots of online forms, templates, and sample material through NAC to make the application process even easier. Let's talk about some advice or tips from some other ACEs. And this is a broad spectrum of folks who have who are current bronze, or recent bronze members, all the way up through people who have achieved gold status. We talked, I think I hit a little bit earlier on recruiting cross-departmental teams of ambassadors to help lead and embed the work across your organization. This really is, I think, the word infecting advocacy in your organization is exactly what you want to do, because if you want to get to those next tiers, you really do have to have buy-in from folks. The advocacy alerts can't sit in inboxes. The Facebook page has to be active in terms of advocacy. So making sure that people on your care teams, on your front of house staff, everybody is involved, and that there's a representative from each one of those departments on your advocacy team. Meet monthly with your team. Make sure that you identify priorities, policies and procedures that will help your staff advocate. Now, and this is one of the things that OPCA can do. We have a number of internal documents that we can share to help you set up some policies and procedures around what is acceptable use of staff time in terms of advocacy and lobbying, how much time can be spent. You do need to track the hours that you as an advocacy team spend doing this work, because there are some limits and some requirements around that for our HRSA funding. So again, OPCA is here to be a partner and make sure that you have the tools to meet those requirements. Provide your board and other partners, perhaps you have community partners as well, with ways to engage in advocacy activities on issues that are important to your organization. This shouldn't just be your advocacy team goes to the Capitol and talks to lawmakers. This should be you bring a staff member with you, you bring a board member with you. Providing people with hands-on opportunities to be involved in the advocacy work is what is going to infect and excite people about it. So just a couple ideas or ways to go about it. One, OPCA hosts a day at the Capitol. You know, there are often times when OPCA's policy committee endorses a piece of policy in Salem. We submit testimony. What a great opportunity for one of your board members to submit testimony as well that's in line with that. One of your staff members that's excited about it. Of course, there are the action alerts from both NAC and OPCA. National Health Center Week is another way to get involved in terms of activities. And then letters to the editor highlighting the work that your health center is doing. Great. Don't forget, when we talk about engaging your staff, to use advocacy alerts that come from either OPCA or NAC as a jumping off point for you to highlight those. If they come in today, highlighting at staff meetings, highlighting in an all-staff email, hey, don't forget, advocacy alerts came out, please call your congressperson, reminders about town halls, or legislation your health center or OPCA has endorsed. These are all ways to kind of keep that in the forefront, keep people engaged, so that they, again, when this stuff happens, that they know what to do, and that also you're meeting those metrics that NAC sets forth. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, one of the health centers that has made it to a gold status that I chatted with, one of the things they do is include an advocacy section in all new staff onboarding. Even if it's just 15 minutes to talk about how important advocacy is as part of an organizational goal. And if you set that tone from day one, people will really understand when they hear the terms or the action alerts flying around your health center. Opt in all new staff for emails from NAC. This helps with reporting, and it really helps you get to those next silver and gold levels. But it's not just having people signed up, it's also making sure that they're opening and participating in the advocacy activities. One of the things that might be really helpful too is rewarding staff who participate. And that might be a staff raffle for a scholarship to a NWRPCA event, maybe NAC's Policy and Issues Forum, or some other event. And another piece that is helpful is creating an advocacy calendar. When does the legislature meet? When will Congress be voting on health center funding? When does the cliff happen, and when should your staff start to be more engaged on that topic? Lots of ideas, but ways to sort of just, again, keep that in the forefront and keep everyone engaged. Some added bonuses. So you may be asking yourselves, all right, great. So now we're a bronze ACE program member, and we're taking care of advocacy alerts, and we're active in our community, and we're working with OPCA. What do we get out of it? What else do we get other than highlighting our health center and the work we're doing and advocating for policies and procedures that are important for health centers statewide? Well, we heard from some other ACEs that people, grant makers, are looking for projects to support that influence policies that affect the people community health centers serve. Perhaps it's a grant around your policy or advocacy work that your health center is doing. Maybe it's a position that you can get funded. It could simply be additional resources in terms of help getting someone to one of those conferences to learn more about policy and advocacy work. So there are folks out there looking to support the work in the advocacy arena once you're an ACE. Something else to think about in terms of local support, small businesses and individual donors are often interested in your advocacy. You know, to tie back into some of the things that Stephanie highlighted, there are a lot of people out there who would love to see more access to housing or more access to healthy food programs. And you know, we always say, well, gosh, there's just not enough money around it, or there's not enough, we don't have enough staff resources to make this happen. Perhaps there's somebody out there that's willing to donate money or food or time because of the work you're doing around your advocacy efforts. So in fact, I did hear from 2 clinics who have been able to tap into local resources because of their advocacy work. And I want to be clear, advocacy doesn't just mean in your legislature. It means these in these 2 cases, one in Washington State, a clinic had a local farmer offer their ugly produce, for lack of a better term, because they read an op-ed in the newspaper that the health center wrote. So I think it's an incredible opportunity for you to build that advocacy out in past advocacy alerts or action alerts from NAC. And then, again, talking about those letters to the editor or op-eds, advocacy elevates your brand. Engagement and presence in local policymaking processes, and it increases your recognition and brings the allies to join your work. And I think that really is just the punctuation to the things that I just, the first 2 bullet points there. The more visible you are in your community, in your state, the more strength and power you have to advance the goals and the programs that are really important to your community. Because let's face it, you know best what your community needs, not NAC, not OPCA, you do. And so by raising your brand and your presence in your community is what's really going to draw in those resources and those allies. And then also, as Stephanie pointed out, those metrics and that data, that's what you take to Salem. That's what OPCA really wants you to bring when you come to Salem, when you write your lawmakers, so that you can talk about how many patients, how many diabetic patients you impacted, how many people are sleeping outside at night. Maybe it's even a program where everybody that comes into your clinic that isn't housed makes a quick phone call from a phone in your office to their state representative and says, my name is Nancy and I don't know where I am going to sleep tonight. These are all advocacy things that we can do internally to raise awareness, raise our brand and our presence. So, whoops, too far. There we go. That's it. That's all I have. I know we went through that kind of fast, so we'll just take a few minutes and entertain questions that you might have. I think the first one I have is from Mercedes asking, when you sign up staff, what, where, with who are they signed up? Great question, Mercedes. That's with NAC. So as part of the packet of the application packet, there is a form that you're going to put staff member names, email addresses, for then NAC will enter into their advocacy alert system and use those as the metric that they judge against for how many people are signed up. It's really important and really critical that when you sign those folks up, you do designate them as staff. If people just go and sign themselves up with their personal email address, that will never get attributed to Central City. And so it's really important that everybody is signed up. And also, if you sign up as a board member, you need to designate that on the form, whether it be the paper or the online. If your ED signs up, that's great. Make sure that they aren't listed as a staff person. I don't have any more questions in the chat box, but I'd love to open it up to see what other people have.
This is Stephanie. I want to make a quick comment, if that's okay, while folks are thinking about their questions. Just in hearing that ACE covers that feedback as well, but something that we've just heard nationally from health centers is, again, like, a lot of this work you're already doing in some way or form, and it's really maybe thinking about those alignment opportunities. Where are you already showing that advocacy, support, and work? Which members of your team are excited about this work and doing this work, and just really being able to elevate and communicate what you are already doing or capitalize on what you're doing through that ACE program. And just as I'm getting out and seeing health centers, just hearing like, you got this work is being done, and it's been done for many, many years. And so being able to use some sort of communication tool or format and being able to communicate that to your partners.
I think that's a great point, Stephanie. In fact, I think that the ACE program through NAC that we just went through is really just a foundational tool for health centers to formalize the work they're already doing. I think that's really well said, because Stephanie's right. You're already doing so much of this. It's just putting on paper and making it an actual priority in your organization. Questions from folks on the phone? Great. Well, I really appreciate all of you taking some time today to learn more about this. I really hope that this would be a great just jumping off informational opportunity for everybody to learn from. My contact information is there on the screen. You can reach out to me with any questions if that pop up perhaps after this. I'll be sharing this webinar out with folks for you to review after the fact. Please share it with others in your organization, with other clinics or other people who may be just generally interested. And then on your ACE journey, please reach out. I would love to partner with you to make this as easy as possible for you to get started in this work.
And Marty, this is Danielle. I think I'd also say we'll include the resources to NAC's program directly. It's a website. But also do let us know if you do go down this path. Again, it's something that we're tracking. We need to know, if you will, in our advocacy work as well, and how we start to support and better support you as our members. But again, we'll make sure you get all of that. It's a pretty clear and actually very easy website to use in terms of resources. It's also got a sign-up sheet. Mercedes, to your question around how do you sign up, quote-unquote advocates. Again, tons of templates, very, very easy to do. I know we keep saying easy, and you're thinking we got a lot on our plate. Again, they're making it as easy as possible for you to join this program and get those benefits. But yes, just make sure you keep us in the loop, because again, Marty is here to be your technical assistant, support, can come out and help, write those op-eds, do whatever it might take, again, to help you do that initial lift and get off the ground.
Thank you all so much. Any last parting questions? Great. Have a wonderful afternoon and 15 minutes back for lunch. Thank you all.